Hey folks, thanks for checking into the Neutral Zone Hotel. We are an unapologetically left-leaning podcast that explores hockey at its best and at its worst. My name is Benjamin, my pronouns are he, him, and I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan living in the beautiful city of Ottawa. And I am thrilled to welcome you to your stay at the Neutral Zone Hotel. Here to help me administer this incredible resort destination is my good friend, SJ.
Hi, I'm SJ. I am a Seattle Kraken fan living in the beautiful city of Seattle, and I just want to say Happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride, everybody. We love Pride.
It's a fun time.
Pride Parade in Ottawa is not until August, which annoys me for two reasons. One, it's not during Pride Month. And two, it's so damn hot in August. And getting down there on Ottawa's broken LRT is already a challenge, knowing that you're just going to bake for 2 hours. It's tough.
I'm sorry.
Do you go to Pride in Seattle? I imagine that's quite the show.
Yes, we do have Pride in Seattle. I'm not sure when the parade is.
Well, I asked if you were going to go, not if you do have Pride. I'm going to assume Seattle has Pride.
Oh, I typically don't go. No, I'm not big on like parades and stuff. But
they're loud.
There's a lot of people.
Well, that's the point, SJ.
I know.
Would you go to a Seattle Kraken Stanley Cup winning parade?
I would think about it.
Oh, you would consider it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well.
I mean, I might go.
You might go. Well, someone's going to be having a Stanley Cup parade very soon. And we've just finished up the Eastern and Western Conference Finals, with the Florida Panthers advancing from the East for the second straight year, and the Edmonton Oilers making their first Stanley Cup final of the Connor McDavid era. Their first Stanley Cup final since 2006. And I think they were both really interesting series that I expected to be a little bit more even. But in both cases turned out to be a fairly strong performance for the victorious team. What do you think, SJ?
I think that everybody had a really good shot. I think the Rangers got outplayed 5-on-5, and I think that they're, and I think that really both series came down to 5-on-5 play, except for maybe the Oilers power play really. Yeah, I'd say the Oilers straight. Power play won them the Western Conference Final.
The Oilers power play is at 34% roughly right now, and the Oilers penalty kill is in the mid-90s. It hasn't allowed a goal in 28 penalty kills, which is that's a lot.
Yeah. I'm not sure how much of. I didn't watch all of the games in the conference finals. Maybe like half the games. But, it was really interesting to watch Dallas on the power play because it was really a shell of its former self. They just couldn't deal with the way, like, Henrique and Connor Brown would, like, pressure the point. And, like, they were really messing with Heiskanen, and you would think that would open up seams down low, and the Dallas just didn't quite figure that out either. So, yeah, I think that Skinner was also fairly solid in this series. Like, it was a big bounce back series. I don't think he won them the series by any means, but
that last game, in the last game, Edmonton only had 10 shots and Dallas had over 30. So that I felt was a really good game from Skinner. There were not a huge amount of chances, but he still saved roughly 2 goals above expected. So he's had clutch performances.
Yeah.
But it's the big guns firing.
Yeah, absolutely. And Knobloch did a lot. He'd made it like a ton of adjustments over the course of the series as well. Just like the way he constantly was juggling his D pairs. He would bring guys in and out of the lineup in the bottom six. He was, Holloway was going back and down, up and down on the between like Draisaitl's wing and Henrique's wing, and he was just like coaching the shit out of it. I think you could say that, and I think in some ways he might have outcoached Pete DeBoer a little bit.
Pete DeBoer traditionally tops out of the conference finals, so this is my sort of expectation for him. I think the Stars are going to be good again for quite a while.
Yeah.
They've done such a good job stockpiling young talent. That's only going to get better as their veterans begin to age out. And it does sound like that process is beginning. Joe Pavelski today announced his almost certain retirement. He left the door open a little bit, but
yeah, he hedged.
Sounds like he's done.
He might get antsy in like December or something, but I don't think he really kind of a shell of himself during the playoffs. Like, he had a good regular season, but as soon as he had just a little less time and space, I don't think he could just physically do it anymore. So it's tough to go out kind of on a loss like that, but on the other hand, that's the experience of the vast majority of professional hockey players. So what are you going to do?
I feel bad for Pavelski because he's been to a couple Stanley Cup Finals, both with Dallas and San Jose. And I think that San Jose team of like the mid 2010s is one of the best teams that's never won a cup, certainly in the Cap era. So the guys off that team are starting to drop, Thornton and Marlowe are gone. Pavelski's done. Burns is in Carolina for one more year. Vlasic is probably done after this contract, and Logan Couture may never play hockey again. We don't know. And seeing a team like that and those players miss constantly as they try and try again, it does suck. Mm-hmm. But if you're a fan of Dallas, I mean, obviously you would have liked to have sent Joe Pavelski off into the sunset victoriously. But I think the future is so bright for this franchise that you have to be optimistic.
Yeah.
Dallas's window is, I would say that the Ben Seguin window never really was. They had the COVID year run. But the current window, the Robertson, Roubaix, Hintz, Heiskanen, Ottinger window, that's just starting to open. And with the players who are coming, your Stankovens, Johnstons,
Bork,
yep, Maverick Bork, Thomas Harley, who I think has a chance to really be a stud on the back end for them.
Yep, he was elevated to the first pair this year to play with Heiskanen, and he did fine. Maybe not awesome in the playoffs, but I mean, it was also basically his first time in the playoffs with that kind of eating those kinds of minutes. So
yeah, you got to get that experience. He's only 22.
Yeah.
And defenders do not usually peak that young. So I think they've got some talent there. And one of the things that Jim Nill's done, even as he, brought in talent this year for this run, was he didn't trade the first round pick. And Dallas has had great luck and drafting with late firsts. So he has his pick this year. He has his pick next year, which means that even as these players begin to come into their primes, because let's remember, Robertson's only 24, Heiskanen's only 24, Ottinger's 25. Hintz is 27, so he's in his prime and about to start that slide down. But then you're going to have so many young players coming up who can take that spot.
Wyatt Johnston is 21 years old.
That's right.
He's a baby, and he's already a solid second-line center. And then he hasn't even hit his peak. He's going to be a first-line center, no doubt.
It looks like he's going to be very, very capable of sliding into the first line center spot if Hintz takes a little step back. Yeah, I think it, and yeah, with those first round picks in hand, you have a likelihood of keeping a pipeline of good talent coming in. So you're using your magic beans to get short-term help, but you're holding on to the firsts to make sure you're at least getting one good prospect every year. A lot of teams don't do this, and certainly we haven't seen, Pittsburgh emptied the cupboards, Boston notably emptied the cupboards, San Jose emptied the cupboards. A lot of teams have sold 5 years of their future in order to get help for today, and Dallas notably isn't doing that. So if this is successful, it'll take 5 or 6 years to judge. But if this is successful and they're deep every year and they win a cup or two, maybe that's kind of the counterbalance to the Las Vegas way of doing things, which is futures are meaningless. Sell, get the best players available. I don't know. It is a really interesting way to approach a hockey team. And as we move deeper and deeper into the analytics era, I'm really curious to see if the drafting can support just like this constant turnover of players.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for the Dallas Stars, you should be sad. You could have won this year, but you got years of contending ahead of you. And that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him back in the WCF next year. I said they were a contender at the beginning of the season, and I stand by that. They absolutely contended.
So on the other side, the Rangers. I feel like the Rangers are in trouble.
I mean, what do we think their window is? Because when I started watching hockey, this is my 3rd season, and they made the ECF in that first season I started watching. And everyone said, well, they're ahead of schedule. I distinctly remember people saying the Rangers were ahead of schedule. And now it's like 2 years later, and what I'm hearing is, oh, the Rangers are in trouble. The window is closing. And I'm like, wait, what was supposed to be their window? Was their window supposed to be 2 years?
I think the big thing for the Rangers is that they did this big thing where they announced they were going to blow the team up and bring in a bunch of picks and draft and try to build their draft, and that never really happened. So the Rangers had 2 years where they bottomed out. They drafted 2nd and 1st, and then they were back in it. Like, they signed Panarin, they acquired Trocheck, they traded for Jacob Trouba. Mika Zibanejad continued being Mika Zibanejad. They didn't sell him when he was 28 for picks and prospects. They kept him.
Chris Kreider.
They got Chris Kreider, same thing. They had Adam Fox. Adam Fox forced himself onto the New York Rangers. So what ended up happening was, instead of doing a rebuild, which they said they were going to do, they ended up really doing more of a retool, which was, powered by the fact that they're the New York Rangers and they have the ability to be that big market and bring in some top name talent. And they got lucky with the Adam Fox thing, and Igor Shesterkin showed up at the same time, and he turns out he's one of the best players in the world at his position.
He was incredible in this series.
He was the only reason they won 2 games. The problem with doing it this way is you are acquiring players in their prime. Well, now Panarin's 32, Mika's 31, Kreider's 33, Trocheck's 30, Trouba's 30. A lot of guys are on the wrong side of 30. It looks like Capo Caco's not a serious NHL player. Like, he's a player, but he's not going to be a second overall pedigree type guy. Alexis Lafreniere had a hell of a playoffs, and hopefully that's what he needed, and hopefully he's going to take the step he needs, because that could help them extend the window. But 2 years from now, Kreider's 35, Panarin's 34. This is a team that has commitment to a lot of players for a lot of money who are on the wrong side of 30. And that's not to say they couldn't be right back here next year, because those are still all really good players. But at the same time, if you came to me and said that all 5 or 6 of those players lost a step next year, I would not be surprised.
I mean, I think they need to trade Trouba.
Rangers fans think they need to trade Trouba.
Yeah, I mean, I I think $8 million is a lot of money to be paying a third pair defenseman, which is what he is.
Yes.
I do, but they still have, I don't know if Fox was injured. I didn't see anything about that today in locker cleanup.
I think he said he aggravated his knee.
Did he?
There was, Trouba was playing with a broken ankle, and someone aggravated a knee, and there was lists and lists of stuff. There always is.
But I just specifically Fox. I think Fox is still pretty young. He's still a no doubt number one defenseman. They have a great goalie who has quite a few years of being great ahead of him, barring injury, which
less than you think. He's 28.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
He's got a few years.
He's probably got at least 5 years. Yeah, depending on injury. But like, they need to do something. Probably need to do something about their forward group. I think it's, you take Kreider and Zibanejad and Panarin away, it's pretty mid. But I don't think that they have like an intractable problem that means they have to rebuild. So, yeah, I don't think their window is as closed or as small as a lot of people seem to assume.
I want to make it clear, I don't think their window has closed. I think it is closing. They remind me very much of like the 2019 Penguins. They're still good enough to go deep, and they might even have a puncher's chance of winning. But they are going to have a rough time if the only way they're going to get the help they need is by mortgaging the future. So,
well, maybe they should.
Maybe they should. The other aspect of it is I don't think they can blow it up. Like Panarin, no move clause. Zibanejad, no move clause. Kreider, he's got a 15-team list. Trocheck, no move clause. Barclay Goodrow, who was atrocious for them, 15-team list.
Barclay Goodrow is a very funny player, though, because he was atrocious all year and then, like, stepped it up for the playoffs.
For one round.
Yeah, and he was like, but bad. He was, he scored an overtime game winner, so that'll buy him another year. He won't get, a lot of people were talking about buying him out. I don't think that'll happen. No.
Trouba's the buyout target. If you decide Trouba needs to go, he's very easy to buy out.
Is he?
He has no signing bonus left.
$4 million against the cap for the next 2 years.
And then $2 million after.
Yeah, it's not great.
It's not great.
I think they would rather trade him and retain.
If he agrees. Functionally, you have to retain. You're going to have to hold back 50% of him to move him, right? To a contender.
Unless they trade him with a sweetener.
If he moves, he's most likely to move to a team that's looking for a veteran defender who can show young kids how to hockey.
A veteran defender who can show young kids how to elbow people in the head.
Yeah, that's it. San Jose. If I was San Jose, I'd take him, especially if you can get a first and a fourth or something out of Drury. Mm-hmm. Chicago, maybe. Like, San Jose is so far below the cap, and Trouba fits exactly in their time frame for when they want players to come off. Same with Chicago. Chicago's got a 2-year time frame. They got to pay people after 2 years. Mm-hmm. So he could end up there, and very well. Like, I think if you're the Rangers, you say to him, waive, or we'll buy you out.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't waive, you buy him out, because you cannot negotiate with terrorists. Jacob Trouba is a terrorist.
Certainly out there terrorizing. I'll give you that.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like, I think the Rangers need to get creative to extend the window. Yeah. It's certainly open, but I do think they're on the back end of it, of a rebuild. And because they didn't do a rebuild, yeah, it is what it is. So let's talk about the Wieners. How you feeling about the Florida Panthers?
The what?
The Wieners. Winners.
Oh, winners
of the conference finals.
I'm sorry. I'm very tired. I feel great about the Florida Panthers. I think they're a great hockey team. Do I have other thoughts? Anxiety. Yeah, mostly anxiety about it.
You're supposed to be the fan.
I'm experiencing fandom through anxiety. What is that? Is that not how you do it? Am I doing it wrong?
No, you're supposed to be joyous. A team you like is very near the holy grail of hockey.
Yeah. It's great that they're back. Their slogan for this cup run has been redemption. I think the way they went out in the final last year was it was a train wreck.
Well, they got clowned.
It was a train wreck. They were so broken by the time they hit that series, and then like Matthew Tkachuk's broken sternum was just like the symbol of the entire conference final experience for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're all hoping for an intact sternum this year. They definitely seem, I think they're overall altogether a better team than they were last year altogether. I think this is going to be a good series, and I think they have a real shot at winning. I don't know. I've seen the projections. This is looking like it might be a coin flip series, and I don't love that. I just want the Panthers to win and then celebrate, and then we can all go home. You know?
I think it's going to be a hell of a hockey series. The best offensive player on the world on one side, the best defensive player in the world on the other.
Yeah.
The biggest pest in hockey, the best looking man in hockey. Two of the year's most electric unheralded goal scorers.
Yeah.
In Reinhart and Hyman. You've got two sort of unexpected defenseman tales with Bouchard and Montour. I guess three if you want to include Forsling.
I mean, Forsling has been head and shoulders the better player over Montour this year.
Yeah. The overpaid number 1D in Ekblad and Nurse. And goaltenders that could steal a game or just lay a giant turd on the ice. Both sides. Like these are very, very equal teams. And I think it's going to be incredible hockey. If there's one thing that really excites me about this series, we did not get the full Matthew Tkachuk experience last year, obviously, with his broken chest.
Mm-hmm. We haven't gotten the full Matthew Tkachuk experience this year yet.
If the Stanley Cup Finals doesn't bring it out of him, what will?
Yeah.
Barkov, I think we're going to see at his best.
He's been so good. Barkov has been incredible this playoffs. Just
absolutely.
Yeah. He didn't produce. He produced offensively in like the Boston series. I think he really ate against Boston. He wasn't so focused on goal scoring against the Rangers, but at the same time, like he ate Zibanejad and Kreider's lunch. Like they had nothing when he was on the ice.
I think they had a total of 2 points throughout the series or something like that. No, he caved them in. Absolutely.
I think the joke, it's funny because it's true, was Sergei Bobrovsky had more points than Mika Zibanejad in that series. Which, okay. And you can trace that back to Barkov, and they were also seeing a lot of Forsling. The matchup of the series is probably the Oilers' power play, which is incredible, best power play in the world, against Florida's penalty kill, featuring Barkov and Forsling, and I mean, Bob has been really good too. This series, like, I don't think he hasn't carried like you might expect a $10 million goalie to carry, but he has been absolutely solid. So I trust Sergei Bobrovsky a lot more than I trust Stuart Skinner.
And I think that's a fair thing to say. But I want to read some numbers to you. Okay.
I'm listening.
Zach Hyman, 14 goals, 4 assists, 18 points in 18 games. 13 of those points, 9 of those goals are even strength.
Pretty good.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, 6 goals, 14 assists, 20 points. 11 of those regular or even strength.
Okay.
Evan Bouchard, 6 goals, 21 assists, 27 points in 18 games, that's absolutely a bonkers number. 15 of those points are even strength.
How many of those points were on while McDavid was doing a thing?
I mean, they play together, so a good percentage of them. But you know who doesn't play on the same line as Connor McDavid most of the time is Leon Draisaitl, and he's 10, 18, 28. 14 points even. And then, of course, the man, the myth, the legend, 31 points, 17 of which are even strength. 14 power play points in 18 games. Like, that's pretty disgusting.
It's gross.
This is, without a doubt, the most offensive team to make the Stanley Cup final since the 1990s. And the Panthers are the only team that I can think of that had the capacity to handle them the way they've been playing. Because, I thought the Stars were going to make it tough on them, and they didn't. The Stars were outplayed. I thought that the Canucks were going to get steamrolled. The Canucks showed up and really held them down for 4 games. And then I don't know what happened, but the Oilers kicked into high gear, and they've been dominant ever since. They crushed the Kings.
Yeah, they really crushed the Kings.
And Florida has been, every series they've won strongly, even if they've gone down a game. Like Bob stole a couple games for the Rangers. They didn't show any signs of concern or panic. They just went out and played their game and trusted that they'd come out on top, and they absolutely did. And seeing it's going to be a hell of a series. I cannot wait to see Stanley Cup final Connor McDavid. I think he has another gear. I don't know where it's going to come from, but we're going to see some incredible stuff.
I mean, probably. I still want the Panthers to win, though. So if McDavid doesn't have another gear, I'm fine. I'm fine with that.
I would like to see Connor McDavid win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
If the Panthers win, I feel like the Oilers can get back next year. And the Panthers winning would be great. There's a lot of lovable players, and also Matt Tkachuk on that team.
They've never won.
And it would be deeply funny for another team that's not the Toronto Maple Leafs to win their first Stanley Cup.
It would also be deeply funny for the state of Florida to get another Stanley Cup.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good for hockey, right? But at the same time, the best player in the generation should win the Stanley Cup. So I'm perfectly fine with Connor McDavid winning. Yeah, no, they should.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sold. I think that he should, earn it. But
and I'm not saying that the Panthers are going to roll over. I think they're going to die trying, and we just have to see if that's enough.
Oh, I don't want anybody to die.
Well, die metaphorically.
I mean, yeah, but that was last. I think the Panthers died to trying last year. I don't want to see that again.
Well, we will find out what occurs. That's for sure.
Okay.
And yeah, Tkachuk versus McDavid, biggest stakes in the game. It's going to be something to watch, and I am excited for this final.
Even though you have to wait. I'm
not excited to wait.
Yeah, the scheduling is funky this year.
I don't know why they couldn't have kicked this off on Friday. I get that this could have gone the conference finals could have gone till like Wednesday. But we could have kicked this stuff off on Friday or Saturday. Why are we waiting until Monday?
Wait, I don't think we are waiting until Monday. I think we're waiting until Saturday.
That was Monday.
Check.
Let's check.
This is great podcasting.
June 10th.
Saturday.
Monday. Oh, June 8th.
June 8th.
Well, I still don't want to wait till Saturday. Gary, what are you doing?
Yeah, Gary.
Yeah, Gary, who definitely listens to this podcast.
And then a 2-day break every time they have to change cities.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long flight.
It's a very long flight. It's a very long flight.
It's like 6 hours. It's fine.
If direct, is it 6 hours? Because, the teams are the only ones flying direct.
And they're the only ones I care about.
Oh, pour one out for the broadcasters and the journalists who have to stage through Atlanta.
I'm sure they would have rathered, a short flight, but they'll survive, or they won't, and if there's a couple less shitty sports broadcasters out there, I'll be okay with it.
I mean, unfortunately, it's not like just the shitty ones keel over. The shitty ones actually have the most staying power. Mark Spector is probably immortal.
Mark Spector, the man who gifted us 200 hockey men. What a beauty he is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, what's your prediction for the Stanley Cup Finals?
My prediction is we get at least 3 overtimes and Panthers in 7.
Oilers in 7. Connor McDavid wins the Conn Smythe. At least 2 overtime goals for Leon Draisaitl.
I think Panthers win the Cup. McDavid still wins the Conn Smythe in a losing effort, and everybody's mad about it.
Oh, you know what, though? That would mean that last game's going to overtime, so that'd be pretty cool. So, yeah, I'm perfectly fine either way, whoever wins. I would be thrilled for either team. And I think, and we'll talk about this maybe after, the Oilers need it more than the Panthers do from an organizational perspective, but it would be great for both teams.
Why do you say the Oilers need it from an organizational standpoint?
Leon Draisaitl has an extension that needs signing. And if he decides not to stick around because this team can't win, is McDavid sticking around? And if McDavid doesn't stick around, holy shit. Well,
okay, so say the Oilers do win. They still have to pay Draisaitl.
Yes. The question isn't so much, do they have to pay Draisaitl? The question is, does he want their money?
I mean,
or does he?
If he has his cup, does he go, okay, well, I won a cup in Edmonton. That's what I wanted. Now I can go somewhere else and be the number one guy and win a cup and show them I can do it without McDavid.
I would think that if you've won one cup with your team, most hockey players are the kind of people who want to settle down and win more.
Well, we need to get Draisaitl on the phone and deeply interrogate this. That's
yeah,
what
I'm sure that's what he'd want to talk about right before the finals is his philosophy around extensions.
Yeah. That's what they're all asking about in the locker room, right?
I think that if this team fails to win a Stanley Cup over the next 2 years, one of those two is going to head out. So I think organizationally, that's why they need it.
I'm just picturing the post-Cup Oilers who have just re-signed their 2 megastars to matching mega deals who will never win again because they were already top-heavy on their cap, and now it's even worse.
Flags fly forever. They already have the cup.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if maybe they're like, oh, maybe
This is the philosophy that was used in Pittsburgh after they won their first cup with Sidney Crosby. And, 8 years later, they came back and did it again. So the cap's going to go up. These guys are going to be good for another more than 5 or 6 years each. They're going to be good until they're 34, 35. If they can lock them in, you never know what happens down the road, especially if you get a guy who's not. I mean, Ken Holland, I think, has been a mixed bag in Edmonton as compared to like a bag of, feces and vomit, which Peter Chiarelli was beforehand. So that's all they need to get this far, is someone who's not actively cutting off his own leg every second day. But yeah, like let's be frank. The most important thing for Edmonton is keeping Connor and Leon around for the long term, just from a selling tickets perspective. And the best way to make sure they do that is to give them a Stanley Cup. So I think it's an organizational imperative. I think they need to win.
Well, I think that the city of Edmonton would be fine if they didn't and they had to rebuild. I'd be fine with it.
No, they wouldn't. Like you don't understand how bad it was. It was 10 years of absolute nonsense, miserable teams, bad drafting, bad management. Ticket sales were
but there's always that team.
No.
Always that team. Like every year there's always a team with crappy ticket sales and bad drafting, and they're lousy and they're bottoming out and they're not going anywhere and they're a drag on the league. That team is always going to exist. Somebody has to be that team every year.
I am not talking about a 4 or 5 year rebuild where things aren't looking great for a while. I am talking about being worse than the Sabres, being worse than the Senators, true Arizona Coyotes level, bottoming out, no hope in sight until they won 3 lotteries. And there was no hope in sight until they won the Connor McDavid lottery. That's how bad it was.
Okay. Well, I mean, the chances are that's not going to happen again.
No.
Even if they have to rebuild. I just don't understand why we think like Edmonton is like, of all of the franchises in the league, this is the sacred cow. Like, we must protect it at all costs.
I didn't say that. I said from an organizational perspective, they have an imperative to win. And that the city itself would not be like, fine, if they just got rid of their top 2 stars for nothing without a cup. I'm saying they would be very upset and it would impact sales. Okay. I didn't say we needed to rig anything to give it to them. All I say is as an organization, they need to be aware that failing with this core would have consequences within the city itself.
Sure, okay.
Anyway, we're going to talk about the PWHL, but first we're going to take a short break. So we would love to encourage you to come hang out with us. We're available on Instagram, Bluesky, at Neutral Zone Hotel, YouTube, also at Neutral Zone Hotel, where we post these pods. Feel free to smash the like button, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications and all the other subscriber bullshit. Leave us a comment. We'll read them. You can hang out with us on Discord, neutralzonehotel.com/Discord. And yeah, if you're listening to this on a podcast platform, give us a thumbs up, 5 stars, whatever that platform allows. Show people that you love the Neutral Zone Hotel. And we'll be right back. All right. Welcome back. Hope you're all still doing really good. The PWHL first season is in the books. The Walter Cup has been handed out to Kendall Coyne Schofield, which is what a bookend that is, given her role in actually getting this league going. The Elena Koss has been handed out to Taylor Heisey, as we successfully predicted. The draft, the first proper entry draft, I would say the original PWHL draft is not an entry draft. This is an entry draft. Is scheduled for Monday. SJ, how do you feel about the first year of the Professional Women's Hockey League?
Overall, of course, I think it's not a hot take to say it was a smashing success. They did better than I think literally anybody anticipated as far as fan excitement and buy-in. They sold far more tickets. They got far more publicity and exposure, and the hockey was really good. And I think it was just a great season. It could have been longer. I also think they could have, or at least they could have played more games. There definitely is a lot that they need to improve in iteration for next year, that we can talk about. But like the headline is really like great start to the league, and I think they've set themselves up for long-term success really well.
Yeah, I agree. Having been to quite a few of the games, I can tell you that the atmosphere was almost always electric, at least in Ottawa and Montreal, where I went to games. Mm-hmm. The on-ice product was stupendous. I can honestly say that the only women's on-ice game that I've ever seen that was better than the quality of the average game in the PWHL this year is gold medal international hockey, women, Canada versus United States. Mm-hmm. Those games, they have another gear, just because of the quality. And that's kind of what best on best hockey should be in a sense.
Yeah. A lot of I think the base level PWHL game was much better than your average women's international hockey game where, it's either, two countries whose women's programs are not very far down the line or they still need a lot to go, or it's the USA or Canada beating up on a far inferior team. So yeah, it seems like it's the best women's hockey in the world.
I would say that's exactly it. And it's not nearly as good as it's going to get. And that's from a perspective of there are international players who are top flight who are yet to come over. That's from a perspective of there are some incredible talents coming out of the NCAA. And yeah, I think that even without expansion, we're going to see the play level step up a little bit next year.
I hope the goal scoring level steps up a little bit next year, because I think of my biggest complaint as far as the on ice product was how low scoring the league was overall. Just the PWHL really started in their dead puck era, and I don't want that to be a long-term problem, because offense is more fun. Goal scoring is more fun. Every single team needs to score more. And also, every team, maybe there was one or two teams that had power plays that were worth a damn the entire year.
Ottawa being one of them.
Yeah. So I would like this league to do something to encourage more offense. And if we are going to have to wait 4 or 5 years for expansion, if that's going to be a rough 4 or 5 years of not a lot of goal scoring.
Yeah. And it is, scoring is down from the PHF, where there was something like 6.8 goals per game in the last season of the PHF. And I think that part of that is the quality of competition coming up.
The goalies are too good.
Well, I don't think there's any such thing as a goalie that is too good, but certainly the goaltending is
on average
is very good. But the one thing that isn't going to get better next year is the goaltending. Almost certainly there will be no new starters in the PWHL. the incoming goaltenders in the draft are likely to be backups, maybe even third line goaltenders. So I don't think the goaltending can go down. I think that when you're adding some more offensive talent, people like, Sarah Fillier and Danielle Serdachny and Hannah Bilka and others, I think we are going to be replacing players who are bottom six in the PWHL today with players who are top six eligible and without changing the amount of top six spots. I don't think there might be a couple top six players who exit. Like Melody Daou announced her retirement. She was playing top six for a little bit for Montreal. Bate maybe done. She's 36. She had a really bad injury this year. And there could be others. We don't know. But the real stars of this league are not going anywhere. Alex Carpenter's not going anywhere. Poulina's not going anywhere. Spooner's got to recover from her injury, but it doesn't sound like she's planning to go anywhere. Taylor Heisey's just getting started. Alina Mueller's just getting started. So none of the big stars are tapping out as we bring in like basically 12 players. The top 2 rounds of this draft are going to be good enough to be top line players in the PWHL. So yeah, I'm excited for next year. I loved this year though. Even if the goal scoring was low, it's fine. I don't care. There were enough goals.
Yeah, I do.
Most of the time.
I don't think there were enough goals. Agree to disagree on that.
The games were still fun to watch. The hockey level was high. The compete level was high. And I love watching goaltenders make great saves. So it is what it is. And this league will need expansion. And this league will need more players coming into it, which will help dilute the pool a little bit, but it's not going to lower the goaltending capacity. Because again, even if you went to 8 or 10 teams quickly, I think that the backups are mostly ready to step in and will be almost as good.
No, they need to expand quite a lot, I think, before the average level of goaltending goes down. And that's just not going to happen for a really long time, which means that these teams need to step up their offense. Shooters need to get better.
Well, we'll see what happens next year on that front. But overall, I would call this year a big success. We know next year, not only are we going to have new players, we are also going to have names, logos, both of which are going to be announced roughly August. So that's exciting.
Yay! Hopefully,
we know that.
Hopefully, they'll roll out a bunch of new merch at the same time.
Merch, they have said that merchandise is a target. Because the merch this year was not great. Like, let's just be frank. The merch options were rushed and not great. So they were working on that. And, like to an extent, is it really worth it to build up strong merch lines before you have your logo? Probably not. So
I mean, I was surprised that they didn't do some of the low-hanging fruit stuff like jerseys. I think they could have sold the heck out of that. Just literally t-shirts.
Yeah.
It was weird. I thought it was a weird thing to leave money on the table for.
We know that the top 3 round draftees are getting guaranteed contracts.
Oh,
50,000, really? 42.5 and 40,000.
Oh man, the money is so bad. I can't get over that.
This is what the PHF agreed, or the PWHPA agreed to.
Yeah, I know it's what they agreed to, but PWHPA doesn't exist anymore, and
the PWHPA absolutely still exists. It's the labor union.
No, the PWHLPA exists, but those 90 people that the PWHLPA, that's 60% of the league that didn't sign and agree to that initial CBA.
So the PWHPA is the official union of the PWHL. It's the same organization that organized PWHPA, play before the formation. It's not a new organization. But it is accurate to say that only about 40% of the women currently playing were in the group when they ratified the CBA. It is also fair to say that, and I think we've touched on this before, the PWHL is roughly spending the same amount of money on salaries as other more established women's leagues. Just there are more players on a hockey team than there are on a basketball team. That doesn't make it right. And I strongly suspect that there's going to be pressure to look at the compensation sooner rather than later. But, it's an unfortunate truth in women's sports right now that women are not compensated the same way the men are. And the men are in the NBA and the NHL, they receive 50% of the related revenue. So we don't know what the revenue is for the PWHL, being that it is a privately held entity by the Walters. They say their expenses were much higher than expected this year, but that the revenues were higher as well. So hopefully the PWHPA is on that. I don't know. Tell Brian Burke to call up Stan Kasten and yell at him. He's good at that. So, I'm pumped for next year. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for them to have a little bit more of a normal season.
Yeah, at least 30 games. So instead of 24, my suspicion is it will be 32, and they've sold, like, my season ticket package is 15 games. So I'm expecting they're going to sell 2 either neutral site games or try to get 2 games at big arenas like CTC and Bell Center and stuff like that.
They got to fix the New York situation.
New York has to be a priority. Boston, I don't think Lowell is a long-term solution for them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love it, but that might be what they're stuck with for another year. And it's even if it's not Lowell, it's going to be another college rank.
Yeah, Agganis, though. I think if you can get into Agganis, that's your goal.
Which one is that?
That's the men's rink for one of the Boston schools. I don't know what NCAA is. I just know that you can sit 8,000 people and it's in Boston proper.
That'd be good. Can they get it?
I have no idea.
Guess we'll find out.
And on the other front, Toronto needs a place to play.
I've heard that people aren't sure they're actually going to get into Coca-Cola Coliseum.
Well, Coca-Cola has a lot of events. It has the Marlies, and it will be getting the WNBA expansion team coming to Toronto. Yeah. Not this season coming up, but the season after. So even if they get into Coca-Cola, it is possible that it is not a permanent home for them.
Well, at least the WNBA season barely overlaps.
Yes, that's true. But it still is a lot of dates for sports in a year. Toronto does not have a lot of arenas.
It's weird.
Right? Like it's not like Montreal or even Ottawa, which is wild. There are arenas in Mississauga. There's an 8,000 person arena in Mississauga. There's an arena in Brampton. There's whatever they call Cops Coliseum now in Hamilton, which is a full NHL sized arena. But if you're not maximizing that ticket base in Toronto, then what are you even doing?
Yeah.
But it looks like Montreal is going to be Place Bell most of next year. Ottawa will stay at TD Place Arena, which will be, still be selling 7,000 average at least.
Yeah, that's a solid home base.
At least it will be until they shrink it when they rebuild it in a couple of years. But hopefully by then the NHL arena is on its way, and the CTC is dead so often that, I think that an NHL arena is the right fit for the Ottawa team. I think they could be putting 10,000 plus people in there on the weekends for sure.
That'd be interesting.
So it would be great.
At least Minnesota, like they're in, the NHL arena and they're not exactly filling it, but they seem very comfortable there, and the NHL team really wants them there too. And they're like sharing the practice facility and everything. So at least they're in a solid spot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Minnesota's fine. So I think 3 teams are very solid. I think Boston will be fine. Wherever they play, they're still going to sell a fair few tickets. New York's going to be figured out, and Toronto's going to be figured out. If you sort those 2 things out, your league's going to do a lot more business.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Man, New York, you know what they really need? Like a practice facility that's not in Connecticut.
That's the big problem, is they committed to Connecticut. They built stuff there. They took out office space there, and then Connecticut just did not fly at all.
No. And like I don't understand why they thought it would fly. Yeah, I'm gonna go to Connecticut to watch the New York team. That doesn't work for Connecticut fans, and it doesn't work for New York fans.
There are a lot of people in that area in Connecticut, but for whatever reason, it just did not fly. Yeah. So we shall see. I think it was a great year. It was a despite any of the challenges, it was a resounding success, and I'm looking forward to year 2, and looking forward to cheering on whatever Ottawa's team name is. And you should come to Ottawa next year and go to a game. So
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, just it's not far.
I do want to go to PWHL games next year. I think that would be really fun.
I'm hoping they go on tour and bring it out west next year. That'd be so much fun.
That would be great. They should you could do an LA game, do a Portland game, do a Seattle game, do a Vancouver game, do a Calgary game.
I would think if you're going to barnstorm, you do Denver, Las Vegas, somewhere in California, San Francisco, San Diego, San Jose, LA. Then you do Portland, Seattle, Vancouver. Mm-hmm. I think that would be your barnstorming. You take the whole league out and do it that way.
Oh, that would be cool.
If you're taking the whole league, it probably reduces your costs to an extent. Everyone's there. You can use the players who aren't playing for media appearances. So you can have all of them in attendance, or they can do practices or whatever. I think you have and then you're saving, because you're probably, if you're the Walters, you probably can get access to a plane or 2, That's what I would do. I would barnstorm the West.
That'd be cool.
But
if they come and play in Seattle, I'd definitely go.
Really? I'm shocked.
Yeah.
All right. Well, congratulations to the PWHL. We will chat about PWHL draft next week, and we will check in again with them after they get some free agent signings done. And we'll probably talk again about them sometime in August after they announce things like arena locations and logos.
I am prepared to be blown away by their team names.
All right. So let's talk about the Memorial Cup. Let's finish up with the Memorial Cup. SJ, you've been watching. Why don't you tell everybody what happened?
So I do want to caveat that I didn't get to watch the final the cup game.
You could simply help everyone with their suspension of disbelief. You could just lie
and just lie. I don't make it a habit to lie. But yeah, I didn't get to watch. But Memorial Cup was really fun. The Saginaw Spirit took their revenge on the London Knights and beat them in the Memorial Cup after the Knights had eliminated them in the OHL playoffs. They did it. The host team takes it once again. Really solid games from Owen Beck. And Josh Bloom got the game winner. I believe he's a Canucks prospect, so that must be nice for Trevor here in Spirit. And yeah, everybody loves Mem Cup.
Yeah, I mean, always love it when a host team wins. The Spirit made a big deal out of this, and it's really great for them. Mm-hmm. The London Knights are kind of a dynasty, so it is a little funny to see them get denied. And yeah, I'm thrilled for Owen Beck, Montreal prospect, who won the Stafford Smythe Memorial Trophy. And this is a trophy that has had a lot of really good hockey players win it. We're talking Mark Howe, Hockey Hall of Famer. Dale Hawerchuk. Scott Niedermayer, another Hockey Hall of Famer. Bunch of really good players, guys like Brad Richards, Darcy Tucker, Shane Doan, and it's like some significant current players: Taylor Hall, Jonathan Huberdeau, Nathan McKinnon, Leon Draisaitl. You might have heard of him. Mitch Marner. So yeah, why not? Why not Owen Beck? Maybe he can be as good as Leon Draisaitl, right? That's what I'm going to hope for.
I believe his potential to be infinite.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah, why not? There were also some great prospects playing in this game, like guys who are going to get drafted this summer. I watched quite a few games, and I kind of fell in love with Zane Parekh, who is probably going to go top 10 in the draft. He might. I've got my little hands together, and I'm hoping that maybe the Kraken get to draft him at 8. He was super fun to watch. He had a great tournament. Sam Dickinson is another D that is going to go top 10.
He's going to go high.
Huh?
Yeah. He's going to go high, yeah.
Yeah, he'll go top 10. So just some really great players to look forward to, as well as quite a few prospect players like Jagger Furcus for Moose Jaw. They lost in the semifinal, but they still had a pretty good tournament. He was fun to watch. It was a great Moose Jaw team. I think they just ran out of steam. And at least they won any games, unlike the Drummondville Voltigeurs, who did not win any games.
Oh, they are from the Q. That's not unexpected.
Well, I mean, the Q won last year.
Yes, it happens. But everyone knows of the 3 leagues, the Q is the weakest, so.
Why is that?
Well, it draws from the least population.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know.
Yeah. Quebec and the Maritimes are like 10 million people, maybe 12. Ontario is 14, and the West is like the other 14.
Still,
so
the West is like, that's so much land. Like, it's a lot of land for not a lot of people.
Yeah, this is Canada, SJ.
Oh, I've heard.
We're very big, but there's only 40 million of us.
All the way up to 40 million now. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's actually almost 41, so we're pretty excited about that.
Are you?
We're the 36th most populous country in the world. That's pretty cool.
Are you climbing the ranks?
I don't pay that much attention to the ranks. It's not about that. It's the love of the game.
Okay.
The game being population growth.
All right.
But yeah, I think that's part of the reason why economic inequality is another part of the reason. Like let's be frank, Ontario is full of rich kids, and it's rich kids who get ahead in hockey. A lot of rich kids in BC and Alberta, and that's not to say every kid who gets ahead in hockey is rich, but it sure as heck helps. There are some incredible stories of the shenanigans, especially in Ontario, being pulled. Families buying entire leagues to guarantee their kids ice time, that sort of thing. And out east, there's where I'm from, there's a shit ton of poor kids. Sidney Crosby grew up well off, but not rich. Nate McKinnon, a little bit better off, not rich. But, there just isn't as much. People have to sacrifice a lot more to play hockey, and they don't have the programs available to them. In Quebec, there is more, but, in Montreal, maybe Quebec City, but it's not the same. If you are well off, you grow up in Toronto, you have every hockey skill available to you. And you can spend a shit ton of money and work with people and try to break into the pros. Most don't.
I'm sure that the competition in Toronto is wild.
Yeah, I mean, and again, that's not to say that these kids aren't talented and they don't earn it. but mom and dad are there to give you a leg up and give you the chance to get in the door. So,
are we having a stealth conversation about Zach Hyman? I'm just asking.
I mean, his parents did famously buy the league. Like that is the story I was referring to.
So yeah.
My feeling about Zach Hyman is that he may have had advantages to get into the game of hockey as a youth, but he's earned everything he's gotten in the game through talent and hard work. He seems like a great guy. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy who lets money and fame go to his head. And I'm perfectly cool with that. And I don't, other than the whole buying the league thing, which is not on him, I don't mind that that's happened. What sucks is that hockey has a wealth level that makes it more accessible. If you could take away the wealth barrier for hockey around the world, a lot more kids would be playing this incredible sport. And who knows how many Sidney Crosbys and Connor McDavids and Marie-Philippe Poulins are out there that never got a chance because their mom and dad couldn't afford skates.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I'm not disputing that.
But yeah, so that's one of the reasons why. There's less teams, there's less investment, there's a bunch of stuff, but it comes down to it's less population and it's a poorer population. So
today I learned
don't count us out. The QMJHL territories have produced many great hockey players.
Excellent. I would never do that.
I mean, some of the best. So, anything else you want to talk about today? Have we exhausted all of our topics?
I think so. And I think I personally am just exhausted. So,
yeah, why don't we call this to an end, and then I can let you go and sleep for 16 days or something.
Oh, if only that was an option. But instead I have work tomorrow.
Yeah, same. All right. Well, hey, everybody, thanks so much for listening. This has been the Neutral Zone Hotel, which is written, hosted, and produced by the Neutral Zone Hotel crew. Some of which is me, and some more of which is SJ.
Hello.
You can check us out at neutralzonehotel.com. As always, I want to thank our friend Emily Mowbray for the designing of our stupendously cool logo. We're on Instagram, Bluesky, and YouTube at Neutral Zone Hotel, all one word. Join our Discord, neutralzonehotel.com/Discord. Hang out with us. Give us a thumbs up or 5 stars on your podcast platform of choice. Thanks so much for stopping by. It's been a pleasure to have you along for the ride.